Hi, my name is Jacqueline Millay, and I am an international teacher consultant for JPMint Consulting. And I want to welcome you to my webinar today. Unfortunately, it didn't record earlier, so I'm recording this after the fact. That means that you don't get all the Q&A session that was really rich with lots of questions and lots of information. But now that I've figured out how to work the Zoom and get rid of the fact that I couldn't share my screen earlier, so we had to meet in Google Meet, and I couldn't record there. So I am recording this now, and I'm going to share my screen so you can see my presentation. So here we go. So these are the 6 steps to finding an international teaching position. I created these 6 steps just myself. I have a lot of experience. I've been overseas for over 20 years. I've taught in the Middle East, in Europe, Asia, and now in North America, well, in Mexico and Canada. And I've been overseas since 2002, so 20 years this year, but I have over 25 years teaching experience. I have created this new consulting agency called JPMint. JPM are my initials, and then int for international and consulting.com. So the 6 steps, so yes, before we start, so today's webinar would have included a Q&A session at the end, but because I didn't get to record it, this will only be the 6 steps. And if you do have any questions after watching this webinar, please feel free to contact me through my email, jpmintconsulting@gmail.com. So here we go. So the 6 steps to finding an international teaching position. So you want to get your candidate portfolio materials ready. And so I'm just going to go over these very quickly and then in detail for each one. You want to schedule me some time with myself at JPMint Consulting for some help to get those portfolio materials ready for candidacy. And then you want to do your research, you want to network for leads, you want to start your applications, and you want to follow up. So of course, there's more steps than that to get a job. After the number 6, there's interviews and looking at the contracts and considering pros and cons for each of the contracts that you may receive. But we'll get into that in another webinar at some point, free webinar coming up. So in step 1, you want to get your candidate portfolios materials ready. That means that you're going to have a completed CV, and it's no more than 2 pages. That could be a challenge for some of you with a lot of experience, but it's always important to bring it down to 2 pages. And I have some hints or recommendations on my website for which headings you should include and what should be included in that 2-page CV. You should also create your cover letter template. And when I say template, it means that overall, the essence of your letter might remain the same. However, the first and final paragraphs are often tailored to the school and the position that you're applying for. And this should be no longer than 1 page. Again, on my website, you'll see some tips on how to write that cover letter. And I'll be writing a blog post, upcoming blog post about writing your cover letter. The third material you want to get ready is your teaching degree, and have those, if you have more than 1, you might have a master's or a PhD, you want to get those all in separate PDFs, name them by the degree your candidate name, so your name, the degree, and maybe even the university initials, and have those in separate PDFs ready to go. Nice clear scan as well. And the 4th thing that you want to do to get your portfolio ready is to contact your references. Let them know that you're job hunting so that they might be getting contacted. It's always nice to get that heads up as a former principal myself. I always like to know, oh, okay, you're job hunting, and I might get busy with some phone calls for you on your behalf. So it's always good to let your references know. And usually that's just a quick email. So then the second step is to contact me. So I am not a recruiter. I want to make that clear that I don't work for any schools or conglomerate of schools. I have over 20 years of international teaching experience and leadership experience. And I wish that I had access to somebody like me when I was a candidate or in the field of the international circuit. So what do I offer? What kind of services? I have the CV edit for language and format. So both, for obviously, hopefully in English, but je parle français aussi, yo hablo español también. But, to do those CVs in those languages might be a little bit more difficult. The standard is an English CV. So I can edit it for language and for format. I can also edit your cover letter template for language and for format, knowing that I've written some very good cover letters myself and have received good feedback from my future supervisors saying that the cover letter kind of convinced them about giving me an interview. And then speaking about interviews, so I can help you with the interview prep session. That can be in any form that you would like. If it's a mock interview or if it's some sample questions, going over some possible challenging answers. So whatever that prep session looks like for you, we can decide ahead of time. And then I also offer personal one-on-one consultations. And that's if you want to hear, if you want my ear and my advice on a one-on-one personal rather than an email, we can do that kind of a chat session, a Zoom session. So yeah, just to clarify, I am not a recruiter. I don't work for any schools or recruitment agency. I respect them very much, but I'm not interested in doing that. I am the step before you go to a recruitment agency. And so I work for you and I'm your consultant in international teaching. So the third step is you want to do your research. You want to start deciding what region would you be open to working in. So the more regions, the better. If it's entire continents, if it's the entire world would be easiest, but maybe you have some restrictions. So then you start to think about what regions, countries, and cities you would want to work in. And then the second thing is you want to consider the different types of schools. So there's local versus international, and local schools can run from complete local staff, local students, local curriculum, all the way to local/international, which would look like perhaps some international students, mostly local student population, some international staff, some local staff, and some international or local curriculum. So that can all be called local schools. And then you have the international schools. Very often we talk about these schools being like little United Nations or model UN groups. So, 25 nationalities in a class of 25 students. The teachers are all from different countries as well. And sometimes those international schools are actually affiliated with a local embassy. So American embassy or British embassy, or yeah, even Canadian embassies. Then schools have sort of fall into two categories, I would say, nonprofit versus for-profit. So nonprofit is where they bring their all their tuition fees and they invest, that's the word I'm looking for. They reinvest them into the school 100% of the time. A lot of the times it goes to the running of the school. The salaries are the biggest expenditure in a school, are the teacher salaries. So nonprofits often pay well, but that's not always a guarantee. And for-profit schools are what it's written. They're a bit of a business. They're trying to make a profit. So they watch their bottom line. Now, does it mean that you can't find a good for-profit school? No, I've seen some very good, excellent schools that are for profit. It's just luck of the draw if you get one of the great ones or one of the not so great ones. So for step 3, I am not affiliated with International Schools Review, but I've been a member for 20 years. Every year I pay my $29 happily to read the reviews of the different schools. And these are reviews given by teachers for anonymously for their school. Oftentimes they can be quite negative, but when you start to see 6 or 7 negative reviews spanning the 10, 15 years that a school's been open, it can give you a lot of red flags and give you a lot of warning. So when I check my previous schools' reviews, they're actually quite fair and quite accurate. And so I would say that you read them with a grain of salt, but some information is always better than no information. And the 4th step to doing your research is considering the curriculum that's being offered. So there's a lot of IB schools out there, and then there are American curriculum schools that use Common Core. There's British curriculum with IGCSE. Canadian curriculum might be Alberta, BC, Ontario, provincial curriculum. And then there might be some international schools that also offer the local curriculum, so the national curriculum of the country. And any of these can be also combined. Sometimes you will see a school that offers a lot of them. They're trying to be everything to everyone, and maybe that can be a challenge, especially for teachers trying to get all of the curriculum addressed in their classes. So the 4th step is to network for leads. And so this depends again on how big is your network. So the first step is to contact any former colleagues or supervisors. These are also your references or your supervisors. So you'd be contacting them and letting them know that you're looking for a job. And I would be specific about the subject area and the grade level that you're interested in, and maybe even the geographic region if you have eliminated some places, or if you are limiting yourself to a search by continent or country. So you want to let your colleagues know. And the next step is to let your family and friends know you're looking for a new position. They might not be in education, they might not be in international education, but they might know somebody who is, and you never know what you might get from those family and friends that put the word out for you. So it's always good to let them know. The 3rd step is to join Facebook International Teacher Groups. I belong to quite a few of them and see postings a lot of job openings. And then also I see people asking for jobs. So it's a two-way street, and it's a really great source of information and also for networking. And the 4th is to consider joining a free or paid recruiting agency, or both. And so I have linked a blog post for a list of recruiting agencies and also job fairs that are affiliated with universities, such as Queen's Overseas Recruitment Fair in February, and that's in Kingston, Ontario, but it's now virtual. And also the University of Northern Iowa job fair in January is also online this coming year, I believe, as well, in January 2023. So this blog post has 13 recruitment agencies and job fairs listed, and many of them are free. I would recommend definitely signing up for all the free ones, and then considering, weighing your options for any that you have to pay for. So step number 5 is to start your applications. So the first thing I always do is I create a spreadsheet to track my application status. I want to have different columns of, so the date that I've applied, the name of the school, the country, and any other pertinent information that I might know at that time, the position, for example, the curriculum they might use, if they have a pay scale that's visible, then I might put that down. And as I say, student population, local, international, for profit, not profit. This is a great place to just track all information that you have about a school. And the second step is to create a Word document to save your long form answers to typical questions. So what you might need to do is fill out an application on a school's website, and they often have specific questions and text boxes. And sometimes glitches happen where you're not able to save before a power outage or an internet cut. So it's always good to have a Google Doc or a OneDrive doc open that's cloud saved. And then you can put your questions in there and your answers as you're typing them. In fact, I often do it in my Google Doc, and then I copy paste it into the application form. And this way you've got a running track of all the different questions that somebody asks. And this is also a really great document to read over before you do an interview, because it gives you already your answers, in sort of a ready-made format. The third step is to be timely. So when you're applying, you want to make sure that you apply for these positions quickly, because they may fill or they will fill quickly. Sometimes they will say the due date is a month away, but then the position suddenly closes after a week because they found the right candidate. So you don't want to put off an application to the weekend if you can. I always set aside, when I'm recruiting for the year, if I'm looking for a job for the year, I always set aside some time each evening to do my applications, and I don't wait till the weekend. And then the fourth step is to be thorough. So check what materials are needed for each job application and how they wish to receive them. Some schools will say, we want separate PDFs, all with your candidate name and what the PDF is. So for example, CV, cover letter, and your teaching degree. Some schools will say, we want all these materials in one PDF. So just check very carefully that you're doing what they're asking, because that is often the first step to see if you will follow instructions. And the sixth step is to follow up. So ironically, the first step is you might not hear back from the school, and this is completely normal. They receive, for every teaching position, they might receive hundreds to thousands of applicants, and they might not have some kind of auto reply or auto response that they've received your materials. You might not hear anything. I would not follow up in this case. I think that it can be seen as too aggressive, and this day and age, with sort of the ease of applying to many schools and many positions, also means that it's very easy to send too many follow-ups. So I would say, if you haven't heard from them, you do not follow up. However, if you do get a response from a school, I would be timely in your communication. So the recommended period would be to reply within 24 hours. This is, even if it's an auto response, I think that it's a good idea to let them know that you've received their response, and that the email address that you used was correct, and it's just confirming that for them. The third step is to use that same spreadsheet to track any correspondence. So if you have a column that says when the school contacted you after you've applied, so you have your application date, but then you have school contacted date, and then you can follow up within 24 hours and keep track of how many times you've gone back and forth. Essentially, you're trying to create that conversation through email to get that first interview. And if you have had that conversation, or you've had some back and forth with the school and you haven't heard back from them in 2 weeks, I would definitely follow up and correspond with that school. So, but I would wait a couple weeks. A lot of times it might be a holiday, or it might be a very busy time during their HR season. But if you haven't heard back from them in a couple weeks, I would follow up with them. So the timeline looks like this for the 6 steps. So it's never too late to start getting your materials ready. So I would say get your materials ready now, update your CV, get your template updated and ready to go, and make sure that you have your PDF, your degrees in PDF form ready to go. Then the second step is to contact me once you have all those materials ready, and I can help you tweak and adjust and check for language, check for format, those materials to highlight the uniqueness in your candidacy. I believe that every teacher has something unique to offer. And through our consultation and through looking at your materials, I'll be able to highlight those unique qualities that you have that make you stand out from the crowd. And the third step is to do your research. So checking, where do you want to go? What kind of school do you want to work at? What kind of curriculum do you want to teach? And the fourth step is to network for leads. There's leave no stone unturned. Use your former colleagues, your supervisors, your family and friends, social media, and paid or unpaid recruitment agency to network and get those job leads. Fifth step is to start applying. And I didn't talk about this, but in my blog, in my first article, I have, there's a few ways to find an overseas position. And one of them is targeted with just the school websites and looking at the career or employment page of that website and seeing what positions they have open. This is very specific. If you're looking for a particular school, so for example, you want an IB school in Berlin, then you might go and find 1 or 2 schools and target them specifically. But I would caution against being too specific. You might be waiting a long time for an opening. The other option is, of course, to cast your net very wide and look at the free recruitment agencies that I've put on my website and see what jobs are out there. And then the sixth and final step for finding a position is to follow up, following up with a conversation that's already started with the school. Now, there's, of course, many more steps after this before you get that position. You have an interview process, and you also have looking over the contract and benefits package. And so I'm also happy to help with those steps, and I will likely do another free webinar in the near future on those steps as well. So we did have a Q&A. It was very interesting. I really appreciated our participants' questions, and look forward to recording the correct Q&A next time. So this was it for today. I thank you for watching this video if you made it all the way to the end, and please watch for future free live webinars on other international teaching job search topics in the near future. I'm looking at probably 1 a month. And anytime you have any email questions, I am happy to give you some advice for free at jpmintconsulting@gmail.com. And my website is jpmintconsulting.com. I hope to see you at the next live webinar. And I also hope to hear from you in my email and on my website. There will be blog postings every week. And if you would like to also subscribe for tips, and I will give weekly tips in an email in addition to the blog, and these free live webinars will be once a month. So looking forward to the next time we can see each other, and thank you for watching. Bye now.